Everybody, welcome back. This is another Friday video, and today on the channel what we're going to be doing is we are working on the truck today. I've got the remainder of the cams to fit. So we've got a front cam and a rear cam on the bucket, but I want to have two cams, one on either side of the door mirrors, just for changing lanes and stuff. So mirrors come off, we have our cam, so I've just got to run it through into the dash and get it all connected up. So give me a moment, let me fathom my bearings here, and we're back in just a moment. Right, so the plan is that is going to be what you're going to see. I'm trying to keep it as discreet as I can because I hate stuff that's just like, I bought some side cams which were supposed to go up here that look down, but they were such, in fact, one of them's over there in that box, and they're such butt ugly things. Yeah, if you just pass me that orange box, the one which is like sort of half ripped open. Yeah, I bought these ones to go on the side, and they just look, well, A, they're cheap plasticky crap, but also they just look, there's no way of getting around that. I mean, you can angle it down, but it just looks, they just look revolting. So I'm going to keep the original ones that came with the original setup that I got, and that's it there. And then from the other side, it literally just pokes up. It's the neatest way I can think of doing it. So that's, I'm going to bolt this mirror back on now, and then we'll have the fun and games of connecting it. There's a reason why I don't like auto electrics. Everyone thinks if you're an electrician, you do auto electrics, you don't. There's a barrier between the two. So my CCTV cables are here. I've routed it through the original flexi pipe here, taken off all of this. I didn't want to do it on cam, there's just too much faffing about, but all the bolts are out now. So they've all got to go back in. I've just routed it up there. So that connection just sits there, so it's relative. If you need to replace the camera in future, it's nice and easy to get to that bit. And that just goes back on there. Let me put all these card bolts back in, and then we'll move on to the other side.
A few inches later.
Okay, recording's been a bit sparse on this because this was bloody complicated, but those are in. That's the end result. It's the neatest way I can think of doing it, which doesn't detract from the overall. I just hate stuff that looks just like it's been put on with no thought, but it's the best way I could come up with. So these came off. We just cut a very neat little hole in the bottom here to feed the cable up through. That's the image on the display now, so you can see all four corners, and it's a DVR as well, so all four cameras record all the time, which has come in handy on more than one occasion on the other two vans. Okay, so now those cams are in and fitted. That was an awkward job, and I've been putting it off for ages, so I'm glad it's done now. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about was on this truck, there was a video, it was when I was installing those 4K Rio links. When I was discussing the pickle I got into with the boom, when I was booming out, and it stopped because the weight on the pressure pads on these jacks, there was something amiss there. Do you remember that story I was telling you about? First time I got into trouble with this, and of course you're learning, aren't you? You learn these things as you go along. I've got a trolley jack here, and what I want to do is just experiment and see. I want to know whether these jacks, whether they work off pressure or length. So is it the length out they've got to be deployed by, or is it pressure that they work on? Because as soon as the green lights go out, it doesn't matter whether you're in the boom or not, it just won't let you move. So what I'm going to do, this is not recommended, right? I just want to, just for everybody's, everybody's knowledge actually. We'll start the engine, engage the PTO. So if we deploy this jack a smidge, so it's out of the cradle now, so currently it's saying that it's unstowed, and it's saying that this jack isn't deployed properly. It's saying there's not enough pressure on it. Well, the green light is off basically. But if I jack this up now, this is the same situation I would have been in. So this would be the equivalent of me being on gravel or something and the ground's given way. But if I jack this up, I'm just wondering if that light comes on. The green light's come on now, yeah. You can see how much movement there is in that. It must be some sort of, see that? There must be some sort of pressure mechanism that causes that green light on the dash now. Because if I start pumping this, yeah, the green light comes on now and it's saying it's safe to use the boom. So it is pressure. There must have been, when I was booming out, the weight must have shifted. But I'm glad I'm not the only person that's happened to, because apparently it's quite common, especially if you're working on soft ground like grass or gravel, anything like that. So yeah, tip, it's pressure, not length, that causes it. Right, I'm not wearing my harness for this bit, all right? So, because I'm literally, if I fall out, I'll just stand up, okay? So it's really not worth putting one on. I'm just doing this as a demonstration. The engine is off at the moment. The engine has to be off for the emergency pump to work. So I can just use it as like a backup pump. If the engine, if a cam belt snaps or a chain snaps or something and you've got to get down, you can just use the emergency pump. So the engine doesn't have to be running. This is working at the moment, but both the jacks are currently deployed and the green lights are on. If we put it into a situation where one of these jacks now, it's saying it's on soft ground, will this emergency pump still work? Because I tried it and it wasn't working. So give me 2 minutes, let me come down and we'll just put it in that position and see if we can get it to replicate the situation I was in. All right, so what we've done, the camera guy reeled this off his tongue just like that. I won't get at that. I'll do it in one take. Let me see if I can do this in one take. Here we go. Okay, so what we've done is we've deployed the left-hand jack fully, so it's on the floor. So the green light for that one's come on. This one here, we've deployed it a bit. We've cranked the trolley jack up to the point where it now thinks it's safe to use the boom, right? I'm going to go up in the boom just a foot or so. We're going to release the jack so it will think it's on unstable ground, and I just want to see if we can then still use the emergency pump, because it'll say that it's not, it'll think, do you know what I'm saying? I just want to see if we can still use the emergency pump when when it thinks one of the jacks is on unstable ground. So let me climb in the bucket a minute, I'll back in a sec. That'll do. Okay, so I've just come out the cradle a little bit. So if the Stig just undoes the trolley jack a little bit, so the light's gone out, yeah? Okay, so the light's gone out on the dash, so I now can't do anything on this boom. Oh no. Okay, how the fuck is that? The green light's gone out, yeah? How am I allowed to use this boom?
12 seconds later.
I've now managed to get it into the position where I literally can't do a thing. It won't let me do anything now. What happened was, we went through the process of what I did that day. So I got up to my point where I was working, and because I was there for about a good half an hour, I said to Joe on the ground, knock the engine off, mate, because there's no point running the engine. I'm up where I need to be. This is what's now happened. We turned the engine back on, and I've lost all ability to control the boom now. I can't do anything. I think what's happened, when you restart the engine, there must be a computer or something that resets, and it sees that one of the jacks is not seated on the ground correctly, and I literally can't do anything now. It doesn't matter what I operate. So what if we turn the engine off now, see if I can use the emergency pump now. Yeah, so if you turn the ignition on, but not start the engine, see, this is the issue. The pump kicks in, but I can't operate the boom at all. It just won't let me do anything. Yeah, won't let me do anything. So this is the pickle now. Like, if you're in the boom on your own, luckily, I'm only just off the ground here. This is why you see guys, when they've got mupes, there's two of them, because if you get into these sort of pickles, but even like, how would you correct this problem if you were out on the highway now? I don't understand how you'd because this obviously happens. How do you correct this issue? I'm now in the bucket. I cannot do anything now. There's nothing, I have no control up here. I haven't got the emergency pump, none of the redundant systems are working. So even if someone is on the ground, how do you get out of this now? Because that's what I'm saying, if one of your pads loses pressure, which could happen that could reasonably happen, how do you get out of this pickle when there's two of you? I mean, we've got the luxury of a trolley jack here, but you'd have to use something like, you would need a big pry bar or something to try to get some leverage. That's the only way I could think of doing it. If the boom has lost a bit of pressure, you should be able to press the button for the emergency pump. You shouldn't. You should be able to press that and it will come out further. So if you grab that jack and then pump it a little bit just to see. All right, so we've just pumped the trolley jack under that pad. I've got two green lights up here. Yeah, so it works fine now. But that doesn't answer the question. When you're on the highway, you would have to use something like a big pry bar, wasn't it? You'd have to use a big pry bar or something. Leave your thoughts below, because I'm just perplexed by this. I mean, I know that general mupe safety, they say you shouldn't operate these alone, and I get it. Normally when you're out on the highways, you see two of them. But this is not a difficult position to get yourself into. If you're tellying around somewhere and the weight on the pads shift, the only way I can see it is you have to have a pry bar of some sort, because the emergency pump is useless in this situation.
A few moments later.
We're just talking off cam. This is ridiculous, because this also isn't safe. This is not, I mean, we're in quite a nice controlled environment here, but you imagine on the highway, you've got cars whizzing past you. You know, I'm sure there's a health and safety code somewhere which says you can't take a bloody big pry bar and do that. That's not safe. So how, I don't understand how you're supposed to get out of this. Leave your thoughts below because I don't get this. I don't understand. I don't know. Right, I think the conclusion we've come to is that the manufacturer would rather that you were safe in the bucket but stuck rather than safe in the bucket and try to recover yourself, if that makes sense. I don't know, me and the camera guy, even we don't totally understand this logic because you should be able to deploy those jacks further if you want to, but I think the idea why, because you can't deploy them, even with the emergency pump, it won't let you do it. I understand it because you could be tellied out at like 7 meters or something, and you could lift up one of the jacks accidentally and you could topple the machine over. So I understand the logic, but you should surely be able to, all right, if you can't raise them, but you should be able to lower them further. I don't know. I think they would rather you were safe in the basket and stuck than try to recover it, and you could potentially make it worse. I don't know. It's a bit of a flawed, there's a flaw to this though, but yeah, leave your thoughts below. I'd love to, for any of you guys out there, Sparks and stuff, who use booms like this a lot, you must run into this. How do you get around it? Because, yeah, I'm repeating myself, but you get what I'm saying. Right, I've learned that during this momentum of interacting with people is that most of the videos are now replying to questions from the last video. The first one was about theft. And it's not that I distrust anybody, and actually I don't. Do I absolutely at any point think anybody here would steal anything? Actually, no, I don't. And if I thought that, they wouldn't be here. So, do you know what I mean? I don't think they would. It's much harder to put systems in place once a company's already grown. Anybody who's got a big, and I don't know yet because I'm not that size, but like when you've got 20, 30 employees, can you imagine how much harder it is to start putting these things in place? Much easier when I'm the size I am now and I'm a small company, and it's much easier to introduce these things. And that's why I'm doing it. It's not that I distrust anybody or I think they'll steal, because I don't. Because if they did, they wouldn't be here. But it's easier to put them in place now than in 2 years' time when I'm bigger than I am now. So that was the first thing. Second thing, on a happier note, we've got photo frames. Now, I know some of you will laugh at this, and that's okay, I don't mind. This wall is going to be dedicated to positive things. And I know this sounds stupid, and I know a few of you are chuckling, all right? But this is going to be dedicated to things we're proud of. So every time any of the boys out on site, or me, or Sarah, or V, or whoever, every time we do something we're proud of, whether it's a fuse board change that we're pleased with, or anything, we take a selfie, and we put it here. So any of them, doesn't matter. Every single time someone's done something they're proud of, it goes in a photo frame and it goes on this wall. And we're going to fill it floor to ceiling. A little bit of interesting trivia just to start this video. If you've ever heard of the term a bodge job, I'll tell you where it came from. There was a guy called Edward Bodge, and he was a bridge builder. And he was in charge. I'm actually in a customer's house just about to do a quote, and I just saw this clock and I saw this, and I thought I'd share this story. Edward Bodge, he was a bridge builder, and he was in the process of building the Fourth Rail Bridge. And he got as far as here, this bit here. He was building the bridge, all going well, and he got as far as here, and the previous bridge that he'd built collapsed. And of course the architects and everybody, they were like, okay, we got to get this clown out of here. So they kicked him off and they got a different guy in to finish the remainder of the bridge, which is why when you look at the bridge today, it's the first quarter of it is a totally different design to the rest of it, because all of this was done by a different architect and builder, essentially. So that is where the term bodge job comes from. Everybody, welcome back. Thank you for tuning back in. Now today we're doing something a little different. I'm actually doing this off my iPhone. I wasn't planning on recording today, and sod's law, I've ended up coming to a job which was quite interesting, and I've ended up recording. So we haven't done one of these for a while, a sort of a pricing game. We haven't done one, but this one's a little bit different, and I just thought it would be interesting to show you. So I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you what we've got. Okay, so my interpretation is that this house was a rental, and the landlord, he actually lives abroad. Now, the tenants from what I gather, have done a moonlight flit, and they've left the place in a bit of a interesting state, which I shall now show you. But the point is, we've been tasked to give an estimate to rewire this place. It's clearly in need of it. Actually standing by the front door, I've literally just walked in, so you know literally as much as I know at the moment. Very Art Deco, obviously. Now, right, through here, so bog room, okay. Old light fitting. Fuse board. Okay, so we have what appears to be a 60 amp incomer, TNS supply, and a chint fuse board. Okay, I bloody hate chint fuse boards. They're hard to get bits for. And it looks like we've got a split load board, but they've just used so it's essentially, basically, it's kind of like a front end RCD here now, because they haven't used any of the non-RCD side. I'm guessing, I haven't looked, but that's what it looks like to me. So I just wanted to walk you around and we'll have a look together. We'll start in that room first, I think. Right, this is the ground floor bedroom. This is the life of domestic sparking, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God I'm getting out of it. Right, I actually have my little list here of bits that he's asked me to price for. So that was the entrance there, light switch there, got a chase all the way up. That feels like, yeah, that's solid. That's a solid wall. So we're going to have to re-chase this. We might be lucky. There may be a channel in the wall. There may be a pipe, an old one, but I doubt it. Normally they've just plastered it straight in. I've got a feeling on this list, he's actually just said he wants to keep that centre light, a pendant. He's not made any mention of downlights in here. And sockets. There's one back there. One in there. I don't think these tenants were particularly pleasant. By all accounts, when they left the gas on and walked out, which is why all the windows are open everywhere. Nice people, huh? Through here. Dining room, downlights on 2 circuits with a 2-gang dimmer. Perfect, okay. Perfect, okay, so we've got a switch there again, same as on the other side. Chase up, and then that will come out, and we'll put probably 6 spots, 2, 4, 6. No sockets. Do not touch beds with your hands, okay? Especially in a place like this where you get a feeling the tenant really didn't give a fuck. You know, just don't touch anything. It's really not worth getting hurt in the process. There's a definite lack of sockets down. Oh, there's one there. So all the walls they're block walls. There's no stud work anywhere. And then into the kitchen. So if only you could portray the smell through video. Unfortunately, you can't because it's really not a nice smell. I must admit, I am getting a bit tired of doing domestic. Yes, by all accounts, they left the gas on and then just walked out. From what I understand, the landlords came in very shortly after they left, realised, and then turned it off, I believe. So usual jazz again. We'll need a feed for the cooker, sockets dotted, usual thing, sockets dotted around, undercovered lights. I mean, this is all going to have to be pulled out and refurbished. So all this is going completely. So this will be a blank canvas. But yeah, undercovered lighting, usual things you'd have. Boiler will be boxed in, feed for the boiler, probably a Nest thermostat or something most likely. Downlights in the ceiling. We've got just a manky old strip light which is held on with tape at the moment. Small storage cupboard. You could actually use that for access going upstairs, actually. It's timber floor, so floorboards underneath. In fact, someone's already done it there. There's a trunking there. Good just when you're trunking up to go to the upstairs. Let's have a look upstairs. Always be a bit ginger, because there's every possibility that you're the first contractor to go in after a tenant has moved out, and that's perfectly possible. So always be a bit... I've said this a few times and people do disagree, but I still go with it. Go with your gut. Your gut will tell you more about a property than any amount of books, learning, revision. You just go with your gut feeling. It's the best. That's your best weapon in the domestic sector. Go with your gut. If your gut tells you something isn't right, listen to it. There's a reason why it's telling you. So just be mindful of where you are. Okay, upstairs bedroom. Ooh, upstairs bedroom at the back, so that's the window at the back facing out. Not the nicest, but I'm sure it'll be, once all this crap's out, it'll look a lot cleaner and empty. Oh, nice. It builds a picture, you know what I'm saying? Somebody had fun up here. This is what I'm going on about. You build a picture, you know, that's the level of tenant which was here. You know, you build a picture. So these beds and stuff, for instance, I mean, I ain't taking these beds out to have a look behind for sockets. I'll just assume there'll be a socket going in the corner, but I'm not moving. I'm certainly not going to start moving any of this. You've got drug use. I'm not touching. This is what I'm saying. Just be mindful when you're the first person going in, or you think you're the first person. Just use a bit of common sense and don't go touching things with your hands if you can avoid it, because you literally have no idea who was here last. That's basically it. So this is just for an estimate for the client. So if the house is totally empty and you've got free access everywhere, 7k, somewhere on there, about 7 grand. It's about average, I think. I can feel people falling off their chairs. Oh my God, that's fucking isn't expensive. That's half the problem why it's a race to the bottom in the domestic sector. You know, 7 is about where this should be. I don't know about the rest of the UK, but for a London-based business, it's about average. That's not excessive. But you know, when you get people like, oh, 2.5 grand max, you can't do it for that. There's just no money. If I did this for like 2.5 grand, it'll cost you, 500 quid minimum in materials. Let's say you did a bare minimum job, $500. So that gives you 2 grand. Well, let's say it's going to take you on your own a fortnight, 2 weeks. And anybody who says they're going to do it in less than that, you're a fucking liar. You just can't do it, you know? Let's say on your own, you want to do a nice, neat job, 2 weeks. Well, 2 grand, and that's taking you half a month. So that's, if you did another one, that'd be 4 grand a month. Well, you've got to take your expenses off that. So not your material costs, but all your other costs, your costs of running your business for that 2 week period. So you've got all of those costs, your taxes, insurance policies, whoever you're registered with, NAPIT, NIC, whoever, those costs have all got to be taken into consideration. By the time you pay all of those costs and then take 20% tax off the remaining amount, there's nothing left. It's just not worth doing it. It really isn't. So, when people turn around, they're like, oh, it's daylight robbery. Fucking isn't. It's just you're pricing a job right. And that's why in the domestic sector you have this thing where it's just this horrendous race to the bottom because everyone's undercutting everybody. But anyway, yeah. I'll let that controversial argument rumble on. I did a quote the other day, straight up. It was a little 1-bedroom flat in Chelsea. And it was in a block of flats. Beautiful place. A beautiful building. And I quoted 6.5 grand to rewire this flat. Now, that was about right. Because the building, trying to rewire these flats that are in blocks, they're just a nightmare. You've got the concierge at the front. They fucking hate tradesmen. You've got to use the back. You can't use the lift. You can't go through the front entrance. When it's on like the 8th floor and you're not allowed to use the lift, it's just, that's where the costs come in. And I quoted for it. I didn't hear anything back. And the guy took another quote. He rang me up about 4 months later. And he said, I took another price. It was 2,750. I was like, wow. He said it was the worst experience. He said that they wired it and they were rushing. That's the thing. And customers don't see that. To reduce the price that much from 6.5 to 2,750, less than half, you've got to cut a cost somewhere. You have to cut a cost out. And customers don't see that. But I think he saw it when they did the first fix. They went to put the second fix on, realised they'd left a load of cables out because obviously they were rushing because everything's underpriced, push. Yeah. I think from what I heard, he was there till like 1 a.m. running cables in and stuff. And the neighbours, of course, block of flats, isn't it? Neighbours were going fucking nuts by all accounts. To reduce your price, you have to cut something. Even if it's something as simple as rather than fitting an RCBO board, you fit a dual RCD board with that surge. You've got to cut to reduce the price, and customers don't see that. All they see is the end result. They turn on the light switch, and as long as the light comes on, that's all they care about. Everything that's behind the walls, they don't care about. I was surprised that worked actually. Anyway, there you go. So leave your thoughts below. Put down your figures, prices. How long you think it would take you? I mean, everything's got to be chiseled as well, so that is something to take into consideration. But I would say, including the chiseling, first fix, second fix, 2 weeks, somewhere around there, I would say. But leave it below. Let us know what you think. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. I will see you on another video. Today, boys and girls, I am up to my feet in it. Now, if you're wondering what's going on, I'm in a swimming pool today, and this has taken quite a while actually, because we've only just found the service hatch, which I'm in now. I'm actually doing this off my iPhone, for which I really apologise. Let me spin round, I'll show you. Right, lights are all off at the moment because I'm working on them, but yeah, pool is there. Don't ask why my 12 treads are in the pool. It's just another story altogether. But pool is there. This is the decking next to the pool, and they've got some little LED lights here, and there's no brand on them that I can see. There's absolutely there's no branding, no markings, nothing. So I don't actually know. I don't know what wattage they are. I don't really know anything about them. So, but they are flickering. When you turn the light switch on, these flicker. So it's more than likely a driver issue, because it's not just one, they all flicker. And I was running around trying to find, there's one just there, another one here, there's another one just behind me. And I was running around trying to find, taking all this decking up, trying to find where the driver pack is, and I couldn't find it. And eventually I saw a little access hatch here. So I lifted this up, and yeah, and this is what you now see. So the main problem I actually had was the client was complaining that the jet facility in the pool wasn't working, and we couldn't find where the pump was for it. And eventually, yeah, lifted up this hatch here, and that takes you into this service duct, this like service tunnel area here. And lo and behold, we found it. There's the pump. There's the motor for the pump, and yeah, we've got a leak, and it's caused all of this water that I'm in now. So there is actually a bilge pump. It's like a sump pump just down there, that white PVC pipe. So this water is draining off into there, and that pump kicks in and spits the water outside. So I'm not going to replace this. This is going to be for the swimming pool guys to do, because I don't want to get too involved in any of this, because there's a lot of... I know you could just shut that. I mean, I can shut the valve off, actually. So it should stop in a second. There you go. I don't really want to get too involved in this, because there is a huge amount of pressure behind that pipe. Because, well, if I drill a hole here, the water will just start coming in, because the pool is literally just behind this wall. I know my own capabilities, and I don't really want to get too involved in this. I'd rather leave this for the swimming pool, yeah, the pros to do this. So a little bit outside my comfort zone, so I'm going to leave this. So those lights there basically just go, they connect onto this flex, and they just disappear into a little hole there, down through here, straight into a turn box, and then it just goes down that way to the driver packs, I think. And that's the last one just there. And that there, if you turn right there, that takes you to the pump room on the other side of the pool. So I'll show you the sump, actually. It's quite interesting. Yeah, no camera guy today. So this is like the sump pump here. So essentially, when these sort of problems happen, where you've got a leaky pump over there, this all fills with water, as you can see now, and it just trickles down. In fact, you can see it there. It just trickles down into here. And then those two things there, those are your floats. Those are your on and off floats. And when the water rises, all that happens is those floats rise. And basically inside them, it's really simple. It's like it's just a little metal ball, and there's two pins at the back. And then when the water level rises, the ball falls back, hits the pins, closes the contact, and the pump kicks in. And I think that is what's been keeping them. That's what's been keeping this place relatively dry. I mean, wet, but it's been keeping the water down until we found the problem.
A few inches later.
I'm sure that's probably a health and safety risk assessment that needs to be filled out then. 9 people need to be down here, 3 holding clipboards, the other 3 in yellow jackets, I'm quite sure. Oh well, here we are. Yeah, I'm sure you can read between the lines, you know what I'm saying? I've got a sneaking suspicion the driver is in this box. I don't know if it's one or multiple, we'll find out. 1. On the comfort of your sofas, with your beer and your crisps and your peanuts, you cannot understand how hot it is. How hot it is in this tunnel. It is so warm. Yeah, so we've got what appears to be just a rotted out connector. Not surprising in a swimming pool. And, all right, okay, this is just a normal transformer, an MR16 transformer. It's not even an LED driver. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Just to be on the safe side, because I am standing basically in a puddle of water, It should be off because I turned it all off. We're good. All right. What I'm going to do, I've got one of those constant voltage driver, because we know they're 12 volt, but I don't know whether they're 1 watt, 3 watt, I don't know. They're only little decorative lights. I wouldn't have thought they're going to be pulling a lot of juice, but a watt, 2 watts each, I wouldn't have thought much. So this is a 16 watt driver, so it should be enough. We'll plug it in, we'll see. Right, driver replaced. So it was that in the end. Just needed a new driver pack. I've got a couple of other bits here I've got to do, but yeah, I've got to get a bit of a wiggle on, so I can't hang around on here too long. I just thought I'd share this because, you know, it's not everyday stuff, and it is, you know, probably one of the most common questions we get asked is by younger ones, the apprentices asking, you know, what is it you do day to day? Well, you get different stuff every day. Like today, I'm working here in a little maintenance tunnel next to a pool. It just, you know, every day is different. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that, and I'll see you in a little while.